Did you know there's a version of the Bible much older and more complete than the one we know today? The Ethiopian Bible contains forgotten books and secrets lost through the centuries. But why was it excluded from the traditional canon? What truths are hidden in its texts? And what does it reveal about the ancient mysteries of the Bible left behind? In this video, we'll explore the reasons behind the rejection of this extraordinary Bible, how it has survived time and persecution, and its impact on the Christianity we know today. Get ready to uncover a story full of revelations. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel now. Here, you'll uncover hidden truths that can transform your understanding of faith and Scripture. The Ethiopian Bible is a fascinating work, unique in its genre and a true spiritual and cultural treasure. Unlike the more commonly known Western versions, such as the Catholic or Protestant Bibles, the Ethiopian Bible contains a greater number of books and texts not found in other compilations. This collection includes 81 books, compared to the 66 of the Protestant Bible and the 73 of the Catholic Bible, featuring works that, for many, are hidden gems of sacred literature. Among the additional books are texts like the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and the mysterious 1st and 2nd Maccabean, which should not be confused with the books of Maccabees. These writings not only enrich the spiritual content of the Ethiopian Bible, but also offer a completely different perspective on biblical tradition and history. The Book of Enoch, for instance, vividly describes the fall of angels and the origin of giants on earth, an intriguing narrative that has captivated scholars and theologians over the centuries. Furthermore, the Ethiopian Bible is written in Guizi, an ancient Semitic language still used in liturgical contexts within the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. This language, which sounds almost like an echo from biblical times, preserves the text in a nearly untouched form, transporting its readers to a distant era. Some argue that the linguistic richness of the Ethiopian Bible adds a spiritual depth that transcends modern translations, making its reading a unique experience. Another remarkable aspect of this Bible is how it is revered in Ethiopia. Each manuscript is treated as a sacred object, often housed in ancient churches and meticulously hand-copied by monks, a process that can take years. The result is a work that is not just a religious text, but also a piece of art, with richly detailed illustrations and illuminations made with natural pigments. With its distinct narratives, ancient language, and careful preservation, the Ethiopian Bible is not merely a book. It is a bridge to ancient times, filled with mysteries and stories that continue to spark curiosity and devotion among millions. Ethiopia is a land shrouded in mystery and grandeur, recognized as one of the world's oldest civilizations. With historical records stretching back thousands of years, the country is often associated with ancient dynasties, powerful kingdoms, and a rich culture that has withstood the test of time. In its valleys and mountains lie stories of legendary kings, epic battles, and spiritual traditions that shape the destiny of its people. Ethiopia's unique role in Christianity began early, with the conversion of the Kingdom of Aksum around the 4th century, making it one of the world's first officially Christian states. This conversion is tied to a fascinating historical figure, King Izana, who embraced Christianity under the influence of missionaries such as Frumentius, known as Abba Salama, the Father of Peace. Since then, Ethiopia has become a stronghold of the Christian faith, developing a distinct practice deeply rooted in biblical traditions. The connection between Ethiopia and the Bible is further strengthened by legends and historical accounts. It is the country that, according to tradition, received the Ark of the Covenant, housed to this day in the sacred city of Aksum. Moreover, the famed Queen of Sheba, mentioned in the Bible, is linked to Ethiopian history, reinforcing the ties between the nation and sacred narratives. Ethiopians also stand out for preserving their cultural and religious identity despite numerous invasions and external pressures. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, with its ancient rites, Guizi chants, and unique liturgical art, reflects a heritage that transcends centuries. Its rock-hewn churches, such as those in Lalibela, are architectural and spiritual testaments to an unwavering faith. Rooted in ancient times, Ethiopia is much more than a country. It is a living symbol of resilience, faith, and continuity, a land that still holds secrets waiting to be uncovered. In a time of great kingdoms and ancient mysteries, the story of the Queen of Sheba emerges, one of the most enigmatic figures in Scripture. According to tradition, the queen ruled over a rich and prosperous land, described as a place of gold, exotic spices, and wisdom. Inspired by tales of the legendary King Solomon, renowned for his unparalleled wisdom and wealth, she decided to cross deserts and mountains to visit him. The queen's journey was not just physical, but also symbolic, bringing grand gifts such as gold, precious stones, and spices, items that highlighted not only her wealth, but also the importance she placed on the encounter. Upon arriving at Solomon's magnificent palace in Jerusalem, the queen witnessed something that exceeded all her expectations: the glory of a kingdom where divine wisdom guided every decision and action. The meeting between the two monarchs became an exchange of knowledge and ideas. Solomon answered the queen's challenging questions with clarity and depth, showcasing the wisdom he had received from God. The queen, deeply impressed, acknowledged that the king's greatness was not limited to his wealth, but extended to his understanding and spirituality. Ethiopian tradition goes beyond the biblical account, claiming that from this union a son was born, Menelik I, who later became the first emperor of the Solomonic dynasty in Ethiopia. According to this narrative, Menelik brought the Ark of the Covenant to the city of Aksum, establishing a sacred link between Ethiopia and Israel. This story not only connects Ethiopia to biblical roots, but also underscores the significance of its spiritual heritage. The figure of the Queen of Sheba transcends time, symbolizing wisdom, power, and the pursuit of truth, a legacy that still resonates in Ethiopian culture and faith. If you had the chance to ask King Solomon, the wisest man in history, one question, what would it be? Drop your question in the comments and share your curiosity. In the vast universe of ancient scriptures, some texts stand out for their uniqueness and the mysteries they carry through the ages. Among them are the books of Enoch and Jubilees, works excluded from traditional biblical canons, but holding a prominent place in the Ethiopian Bible. These texts not only expand understanding of spiritual traditions, but also shed light on less explored aspects of sacred history. The Book of Enoch is perhaps the most intriguing of these writings. Attributed to Enoch, the seventh patriarch after Adam, this text describes celestial visions and events beyond human comprehension. One of its most fascinating themes is the narrative of the Watchers, angels who descended to earth and, by rebelling against divine will, gave rise to giants known as Nephilim. This account not only deepens the events mentioned in Genesis 6, but also explores the cosmic consequences of this rebellion, including the judgment of these fallen angels. The Book of Enoch provides a heavenly perspective on the battle between good and evil, inviting readers to reflect on the impact of decisions made in both heaven and on earth. The Book of Jubilees, on the other hand, offers a chronological and detailed account of the world's origins, dividing history into 49-year periods called Jubilees. This book revisits familiar events from Genesis, but with broader and deeper interpretations. A striking example is its emphasis on God's covenant with Abraham and the sanctity of the Sabbath, showing how every moment in creation and history carries unique spiritual significance. Jubilees also preserves oral traditions, offering a rich and detailed view of the culture and religious practices of the patriarchs. These texts, absent from other biblical compilations, are not only fascinating stories but also windows into the spiritual and historical thought of ancient times. Through them, one can glimpse a faith that connects the visible to the invisible, the human to the divine, in a narrative that continues to intrigue and inspire scholars and believers worldwide. The Guizi language is much more than an ancient tongue. It is a key that unlocks a universe of spiritual and historical knowledge. This language, deeply tied to the religious tradition of Ethiopia, is considered sacred and preserved as an integral part of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Though no longer spoken in daily life, Guizi remains alive in liturgies, manuscripts, and the reading of the Ethiopian Bible, becoming a symbol of continuity and devotion. Guizi carries a unique linguistic richness, Each word and phrase seemed to echo from a time when sacred texts were painstakingly copied by hand in isolated monasteries, often taking years to complete. It is a language that not only conveys messages, but bears the weight of centuries of faith, tradition, and history. Reading the Bible in Guizi transports the reader to a time when spirituality permeated every aspect of life. The use of Guizi also makes the Ethiopian Bible a special challenge for those who wish to study it. Understanding the language is just the beginning. One must also grasp the cultural and spiritual context in which it was written. This creates an exclusivity that protects the integrity of the text while requiring deep dedication to delve into its mysteries. Those who embark on this study often describe a transformative experience, as if hearing the voices of past generations. Moreover, Guizi plays a crucial role in preserving Ethiopian identity. In a world where many traditions have been lost over time, this language remains a cultural and spiritual foundation, connecting the present to the past. It is through Guizi that many of the Ethiopian Bible's exclusive texts remain intact, offering the world a window into a spirituality that transcends boundaries. The history of Christianity in Ethiopia is one of the most ancient and fascinating chapters of the Christian faith. Unlike many nations where Christianity was introduced through colonizers, Ethiopia embraced the Christian faith centuries before many European countries. This is a testament to the country's spiritual uniqueness and how religion took deep roots in its fertile soil. Christianity is believed to have arrived in Ethiopia around the 1st century, shortly after the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. One of the earliest seeds of faith was planted through the story of the Ethiopian eunuch mentioned in the Book of Acts. This high official of the Ethiopian Queen Candace, while returning from Jerusalem, encountered Philip the evangelist on a desert road. After hearing the preaching about Jesus and the prophecies of the scriptures, the eunuch requested to be baptized on the spot. This event marked the beginning of Christianity's presence in Ethiopia, albeit in its early stages. However, it was in the 4th century that Christianity was firmly established as Ethiopia's official religion. During the reign of King Ezana, the Kingdom of Aksum became one of the world's first Christian nations. Ezana's conversion is attributed to 2 young Syrian missionaries, Frumentius and Adesius, who arrived at the royal court after a shipwreck. Frumentius, in particular, gained the king's trust and began preaching the Christian faith. Later, he was ordained as a bishop by Saint Athanasius of Alexandria, solidifying Ethiopia's spiritual connection to the early Christian church. Ethiopian Christianity was not merely an adaptation, but something deeply rooted in local culture. Rock-hewn churches such as those in Lalibela stand as proof of the Ethiopian people's dedication to their faith. These awe-inspiring structures, carved directly into the stone, serve as temples and symbols of an unshakable commitment to Christianity, even during times of persecution or isolation. This story reveals an essential truth. Ethiopia did not receive Christianity as a colonial inheritance, but embraced it as an independent choice, shaping it to its identity and culture. This made Ethiopia one of the pillars of African Christianity, with a vibrant spirituality that continues to inspire the world. The formation of the Ethiopian biblical canon reveals a unique and rich history, marked by theological choices that differ from traditions in other regions. The Ethiopian Bible stands out for containing not only what is known as the narrow canon, but also a broad canon, which includes books absent from Catholic and Protestant versions. This distinction is not merely about quantity, but reflects a profound commitment to preserving texts considered sacred and essential to understanding the faith and history of the Ethiopian people. The broad canon of the Ethiopian Bible includes 81 books, among them works such as the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and the mysterious Maccabean, which present teachings and narratives unfamiliar to much of the Christian world. The inclusion of these texts points to a theological vision that values the diversity of voices and perspectives, often amplifying details that other traditions mention only briefly. Additionally, the Ethiopian canon reflects an intimate connection with oral tradition and the historical experiences of a nation that has lived its faith intensely and resiliently. Each book selected to be part of this canon carries a spiritual significance that transcends time, connecting today's readers with early Christians and the patriarchs of ancient times. The decision to include additional texts reveals a theological approach that prioritizes spiritual richness over standardization. This makes the Ethiopian Bible a true treasure, where each page offers not only stories, but also a glimpse into a deep spirituality rooted in unique historical contexts. Isn't it incredible that Christianity reached Ethiopia before many European countries? If you also find the story of faith and resilience fascinating, show your support by giving this video a like. The exclusion of the Ethiopian Bible from widely accepted canons was not merely a theological issue, but the result of a convergence of political, linguistic, and cultural factors that shaped Christianity over the centuries. As European Christianity consolidated its dominance, cultural differences between East and West created an invisible barrier that influenced perceptions of Ethiopian traditions. One of the greatest obstacles was language. Guizi, Ethiopia's sacred language, was never widely understood outside the region. While scriptures in Latin, Greek, and later other European languages shaped Christian thought in the West, the Ethiopian text remained inaccessible to these communities. This linguistic isolation hindered the exchange of ideas and fueled the impression that Ethiopian texts were foreign or even heretical. Additionally, the theological choices made by the Ethiopian Church, including the inclusion of books like Enoch and Jubilees, were viewed with suspicion. The content of these texts, filled with apocalyptic visions, narratives of fallen angels, and detailed chronologies of creation, challenged interpretations consolidated in the West. By valuing these texts, the Ethiopian Church followed a spiritual path emphasizing connections to ancient traditions, but this ultimately distanced it from the conciliar decisions that shaped the European canon. Politics also played a crucial role. The Ethiopian Church, geographically and culturally isolated, did not participate in the great councils that defined Western Christianity. This isolation was exacerbated by the rise of new Christian powers in Europe, which often ignored or marginalized the traditions of Eastern churches. These factors created a gap between the Ethiopian Bible and the rest of the Christian world, not due to a lack of spiritual merit, but because its richness and depth remained unknown or misunderstood beyond its borders. The pseudepigrapha are ancient texts attributed to biblical figures such as patriarchs and prophets, but whose true authorship is unknown or disputed. The term comes from Greek, meaning false writings, but it should not be understood as an accusation of deception. Many of these texts were written to preserve teachings or explore profound spiritual themes, using the name of a revered figure to lend authority to their words. Among the best-known pseudepigrapha are the Apocalypse of Adam, the Testament of Moses, and the Book of Enoch, which, while included in the Ethiopian canon, was rejected by other traditions. These texts often delve into mysterious themes, such as celestial visions, battles between angels and demons, and the secrets of the universe. Due to their often fantastical narratives, they were deemed incompatible with the criteria of divine inspiration established by religious leaders during the councils that defined the biblical canons. One reason for their exclusion was the difficulty of verifying their origins and historical context. Written in various times and places, the pseudepigrapha reflect cultural and theological influences that sometimes diverge from dominant traditions. This diversity of perspectives generated distrust among scholars, who saw these texts as a threat to the uniformity of Christian doctrine. Moreover, the pseudepigrapha often questioned or expanded upon familiar biblical narratives, making them controversial. For many religious leaders, these works challenged established understandings of divine truth, creating divisions within faith communities. Even so, the pseudepigrapha remain a fascinating source of knowledge about ancient beliefs and theological debates. Their pages, though excluded from many canons, continue to shed light on the mysteries surrounding biblical spirituality and history. Emperor Haile Selassie, known as the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, played a pivotal role in modern Ethiopian history and the preservation of its spiritual heritage. More than a political leader, he was seen by many as a messianic figure, and his influence extended into the religious realm, deeply shaping the organization and consolidation of the official version of the Ethiopian Bible. During his reign, Haile Selassie recognized the importance of safeguarding Ethiopia's spiritual and cultural traditions at a time when the country faced external pressures from modernization and colonialism. Understanding the Ethiopian Bible's value as a cornerstone of national identity, the emperor sponsored initiatives to ensure the standardization and distribution of the sacred text. This effort was crucial in guaranteeing future generations access to a unified and authentic version of the Ethiopian canon, which included 81 books, featuring unique works such as the Book of Enoch and the Maccabean. Selassie also sought to strengthen the connection between the Bible and the people. In a visionary move, he promoted the translation of parts of the scriptures into local languages, enabling more individuals to experience the spiritual richness of the text. At the same time, he preserved Guizi as the liturgical language, maintaining the link to antiquity and the rituals of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The emperor's influence extended beyond textual organization. He frequently referenced the scriptures in his speeches, reinforcing the Bible's role as a moral guide and a source of wisdom to face the challenges of the modern world. Haile Selassie transformed the Ethiopian Bible into a symbol not only of faith, but of cultural and spiritual resilience in a rapidly changing world. Which biblical text do you think was most influenced by political decisions? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinion. Throughout the centuries, decisions about which texts would be included or excluded from the biblical canon were never solely matters of faith or spirituality. Politics played a central role, shaping choices that would influence not only the content of the scriptures, but also the power and structure of entire churches and kingdoms. From the early centuries of Christianity, religious leaders faced political pressures. Roman emperors, for instance, were highly interested in using religion as a tool to unify the empire. During Constantine's reign in the 4th century, Christianity became the official religion of Rome, and councils began organizing and deciding which texts would be considered inspired by God. Texts that did not align with the theological and political interests of the time were discarded, such as many of the books now known as apocrypha or pseudepigrapha. The choice of what was included in the canon also reflected efforts to consolidate a doctrine that would strengthen the authority of the church and rulers. For instance, books that questioned figures of power or offered divergent interpretations of Christ's divine nature were often rejected. The Gospel of Thomas, with its emphasis on mystical teachings, and the Book of Enoch, with its stories of watchers and fallen angels, were seen as challenges to the dominant theological narrative. Political interests continued to shape the canon in later periods. During the Protestant Reformation, the Bible was re-evaluated by leaders such as Martin Luther, who excluded books like Maccabees from the Protestant canon, partly for theological reasons, but also to distance his movement from papal authority. The history of the Bible is therefore also a history of how power shapes spirituality. The texts chosen and those left out reflect not only the faith of their compilers, but also the political and cultural challenges of their times. The story of the scriptures gained new layers of mystery and revelation with archaeological discoveries, especially the Dead Sea Scrolls, found in caves near Qumran in the 1940s. These manuscripts, preserved for over 2,000 years, unveiled ancient texts that show striking similarities to some of the writings preserved in the Ethiopian Bible. These similarities underscore the importance of texts that, for centuries, were considered marginal or apocryphal. Among the most intriguing texts from the Dead Sea Scrolls are fragments corresponding to the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, both recognized as part of the Ethiopian canon. The inclusion of these texts in the archaeological findings indicates that they were widely circulated among Jewish communities before the emergence of Christianity. This suggests that the roots of the Ethiopian Bible trace back to ancient traditions shared by diverse cultures and religious communities in the region. These texts offer unique insights. The Book of Enoch, for instance, is prominently represented in the scrolls, and its detailed descriptions of the fall of the Watchers and the secrets of the heavens echo the deep spirituality found in Ethiopian tradition. The fact that these texts were preserved in Guizi and found in fragmented form among the Dead Sea Scrolls reinforces the idea that the Ethiopian Bible preserves a spiritual legacy older than many had imagined. The discoveries also raise questions about how and why certain texts were included or excluded from the dominant canon. The Dead Sea Scrolls reveal a theological and cultural diversity that challenged later efforts to create a uniform canon. These archaeological findings show that Ethiopian texts are part of a larger and richer tradition, connecting Ethiopia to the ancient roots of biblical history. Throughout the centuries, the Ethiopian Bible faced countless challenges to its survival, enduring invasions, wars, and even fires that threatened to erase its existence. Every preserved page stands as a testament to a story of resilience and faith that transcends generations. In times of conflict, the protection of these sacred texts often depended on the heroic acts of monks and communities who risked everything to ensure that this spiritual treasure would not be lost. During foreign invasions, such as wars with the Ottoman Empire or European colonial attempts, the Ethiopian Bible was often targeted by looters, drawn to its spiritual significance and material value. In many cases, these texts were hidden in caves, rock-hewn churches, or even buried, far from the reach of invaders. In Lalibela, for example, local stories recount how monks stored manuscripts in secret chambers, ensuring their preservation even amidst widespread destruction. Internal wars also posed a constant threat. During periods of political instability, temples were destroyed and manuscripts were burned. Despite this, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and local communities demonstrated remarkable resilience, manually copying the texts and keeping liturgical traditions alive. Each copy was not only a preservation of sacred words, but also an act of resistance against cultural destruction. Fires, often caused by attacks or accidents, presented another significant danger. Illuminated manuscripts, painstakingly handcrafted with natural pigments and preserved across generations, were consumed by flames. Yet the commitment to safeguarding Ethiopia's spiritual heritage never wavered. With every loss, a new generation arose, dedicated to rewriting, restoring, and keeping the flame of faith alive. This resilience has transformed the Ethiopian Bible into a living symbol of perseverance, a testament to how spiritual strength can overcome the material world's adversities. The fight to preserve the Ethiopian Bible is truly a story of courage and faith. If you think this legacy deserves recognition and celebration, hit the like button right now. In recent decades, the Ethiopian Bible has emerged as a focal point of global interest, sparking curiosity among scholars, theologians, and history enthusiasts worldwide. With its unique stories and expansive canon, which includes rare books such as the Book of Enoch and the Maccabean, this sacred collection has gained attention for its uniqueness and spiritual depth. The progress of modern translations and academic research has been pivotal in bringing this spiritual treasure to a broader audience. Scholars from various fields have dedicated themselves to translating the texts of the Ethiopian Bible into accessible languages, unveiling rich content filled with historical, apocalyptic, and theological narratives. Many of the texts, originally written in Guizi, are being studied in depth, and modern translations are helping connect contemporary readers with a spiritual world that seemed lost. Works like the Book of Jubilees, with its detailed accounts of creation and biblical genealogies, are offering fresh perspectives on the roots of Christianity and Judaism. Academic interest has also expanded dialogue about the relationship between Ethiopian texts and other biblical traditions. Parallels found between the Dead Sea Scrolls and Ethiopian texts, for instance, shed light on connections between cultures and theologies that shaped ancient spirituality. These discoveries suggest that the Ethiopian Bible may hold echoes of traditions far older than previously imagined, reinforcing its importance on the global stage. Moreover, the meticulous preservation of the Ethiopian Bible by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church is being recognized as an example of cultural resilience. Academic and religious institutions are collaborating to digitize and archive historical manuscripts, ensuring that this spiritual heritage is preserved and accessible for future generations. This growing global interest not only rediscovers the Ethiopian Bible, but also celebrates its unique contribution to the history of faith and human thought. In the Ethiopian Bible is far more than a collection of sacred texts. It is a mirror of the diversity and depth of Christianity through the centuries. Exploring it reveals valuable lessons that transcend time, teaching us about the plurality of faith and the richness of traditions that have shaped Christian spirituality. One of the greatest lessons of the Ethiopian Bible is the importance of preserving cultural and spiritual identity even in the face of challenges. The inclusion of texts like the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees reminds us that Christianity is not uniform, but a tapestry of interpretations, narratives, and practices that reflect the unique experiences of different peoples. This diversity does not weaken the central message of the gospel. Rather, it enriches it, offering perspectives that deepen the understanding of faith. Another profound teaching is the value of the connection between tradition and community. The Ethiopian Bible has been preserved not just as a book, but as a living legacy. For centuries, monks, priests, and believers devoted their lives to copying, protecting, and transmitting it, demonstrating the essential role of collective faith in maintaining spiritual values. This dedication invites reflection on the importance of safeguarding our own traditions, keeping them alive for future generations. The Ethiopian Bible also challenges us to question our perspectives on the canon and spirituality. It shows us that what is rejected by some may be a source of inspiration and truth for others. This openness to dialogue and respect for different traditions teaches us that faith is a shared journey where every voice contributes to a broader understanding of the divine. Above all, the Ethiopian Bible inspires us to seek unity amidst diversity, recognizing that Christianity's richness lies in its ability to embrace different cultures, histories, and ways of thinking while preserving the essence of its message of love, redemption, and hope. This journey through the Ethiopian Bible was amazing, wasn't it? So, how about exploring more stories like this together? Subscribe to the channel to catch our next videos, like to support this work, and leave a comment sharing what impacted you the most. Your engagement means the world to us.